Hello, people. Good morning. So this is day three of learning React fundamentals, and the course that I'm following is this link, and I think I have pasted it in my description box, so you can check them out. This is the course that I just stumbled upon while searching for learning React fundamentals. So yesterday I have to abruptly end my stream due to like hardware issue. So I hope today we don't face the same issue. So uh, I don't know where yesterday I left off. So let's see from the Git commits. So update app component exercise 1.5. So that means I was in exercise number 1.5 here. I updated my app component. That means it should be around here that I did changes. I think I must have taken use of AIs. Hmm. Codes information step free. Let's take the change one step further. Change the codes and its part into a single JavaScript object. Fix everything that breaks. Yeah, I did that. Yeah, I remember. Let's run this application. PM run dev. Okay, so it's like this. Now I have to open my console as I promised that while learning React, I will always open my console. So I think we were in object method and this. So while I think I was doing something this. Uh, mm, like this, methods can be assigned to objects even after the creation of the object. So I have created an object and I am assigning another function into them. Now I'm console logging. Yeah, I think I practiced this in my console, browser's console. Mm, Now the object has the method do addition, which calculates the sum of the numbers given to it as a parameters. The method is called in the usual way using the object. Mm, okay. If we try to do the same with the method greet, we run into an issue. Arto.greet, uh, let's see, rather than reading, I will more prefer if I can directly test it them out. Now, if I, okay, so it's giving me the response arto.greet. So basically, I'm accessing a greet function from the object called arto. Let's see if I can access arto.do addition, not a number. Why? So arto do addition, it's gonna console log. So like I have to pass the numbers, right? Let's try doing this. Okay, so it's give me the answer. Now if I do addition, it's gonna give me the function. Okay. Now let's see if I can use intro dot age plus intro dot do addition. Okay, so it's spit out the age, age which is 35, and auto do addition 3 plus 1 which is 4. So Hmm, this is like idiotic. Well, anyway, it's just something I thought of, so I decided to clear it. Clear the console. Now, now the object has the method do addition, which calculates the sum of numbers given to its parameters. The method is called in the usual way, using the object arto.do addition 1 4, or by storing a method reference in a variable, storing a method reference in a variable and calling the method through the variable reference to addition 10 and 50. If we try to do the same with the method create, we run into an issue. Reference to create auto create. When calling the method through a reference, the method loses knowledge of what the original this was. Contrary to other language in JavaScript, the value of this keyword is defined based on how the method is called. When calling the method through a reference, the value of this becomes the so-called global object, and the end result is often not what the software developer had originally intended. Losing track of this when writing JavaScript code brings forth a few potential issues. Situations often arise where a React or Node, or more specifically the JavaScript engine or the web browser, needs to call some methods in an object that the developer has defined. However, in this course, we avoid these issues by using this nice JavaScript. One situation leading to the disappearances of this arises when we set a timeout to call the create function on the Arto object using the set timeout function. Okay, so I have already defined the Arto object, so let's set timeout Arto.create after a 2 second. Okay, what is this 1007? Mm, What is this 1007? I mean, I seriously have no idea. Is this some kind of memory reference or related to that? Because I am feeling that is what it is. Mm, I don't think so, but mm, let's check it out. From the page and open console, I would like to know, tell me what is 1007? See what it's got. I'm generally what I think is that it is something related to memory. Let's see. On the full stack part page we are viewing, the number 1007 doesn't appear as a special keyword or concept. However, in the context of opening the browser console while working through the exercises, 1007 would simply be interpreted as a numeric literal plain number value of type number. Mm, but no, I mean, so I was following through the exercise 1.5 and have defined the object called Arto. Now I am checking the this keyword section, and in that there was example we using set timeout just like I have used in my browser console. So after hitting the enter, I got the 1007 and the greet function without name, since I didn't pass it. So I wanted to know what and where this 1007 coming from. Great observation. That mysterious 1000 isn't coming from your art object or this keyword. Example, it actually means timer ID. I see. So this is my timer ID. I do know that if you use set interval, then it spits out the interval ID. In browser, when you call set timeout a function and the delay, it schedules a timer and immediately returns a numeric ID. That ID is just an internal reference, so you can later cancel the timer with clear timeout ID. The browser's time key. Different runs or different browsers will give you different number depending on how many timers have been created so far. Okay, so that means I have created 1007 timers so far in the Edge browser. Is that what it means? So 1007 means is that how many times I have created timeouts in Edge browser? Is that what it's mean? Exactly, you got the right institution. That 1000 is the ID of the timer you just created, not a counter of how many times you have used. Okay, okay, okay. Mhm. Each time you call Sound, the browser assign a unique numeric ID so that it schedules the number itself, like it's just the number next available identified in the browser's internal queue. Okay, so what I am understanding is just a unique number that my browser created for this timer function, set timeout, and this is the timer ID. If I have used set interval for same like r2.read, if I pass Dave this time and wait for 2000 seconds, uh, R2, R2. So this is my interval ID 1012, right? Okay, let's ask another question. Okay, so instead of, so now I have used set interval. So what happens is that it immediately prints the greet function and give me interval ID. Why? Yes, you have nailed the pattern. When you see set interval, the browser behaves almost like exactly like set timeout in terms of what it returns. Return value is select interval immediately returns interval ID, just like we have in a timer phase, and I can cancel that using clear interval by passing that ID itself. Now console echo. The browser console REPL, whatever value a function call returns gets echoed back. Since set interval returns the interval ID, you see that number printed. Understood? Function reference display. If you directly function reference like r2.greet instead of wrapping it in an arrow function, the console may also show the function object itself. But here it didn't show me the function object itself. Rather, it just printed the value of the greet function with the name in it. Even though I passed Dave, it printed Arto Hellas or something. So that is like what I initially had in the art object, the name, this dot name. So it accessed the global this for this name under the art object. Is that what it means? So the sequence is you call set interval auto.greet 2000. The browser schedule the repeating task. It immediately returns an interval ID. Let's say 1012. Here the console echoes that ID and sometimes also shows the function reference you passed. depending on how you invoke it. The key difference from set timeout is that the schedule function will now run repeatedly at the given interval, not just once. So quick side by side snippet, so you can see. I think I'm good. I just wanted to like see the difference outcomes if I use set interval, or so what would I get? That's it. So I have my understanding. As I mentioned, the value of this in JavaScript is defined based on how the method is being called. When set timeout is calling the method, it is the JavaScript engine that actually calls the method, and at this point, this refers to the global object. There are several mechanisms by which the original list can be preserved. One of these is using a method called bind. Calling arthur.greet.bind creates a new function where the is bound to point to Arthur, independent of where how the method is being called. Using arrow function, it is possible to solve some of the problems related to this. This should not, however, be used as methods for objects because then this does not work at all. We will come back later to the behavior of this in relation to arrow function. If you want to gain a better understanding of how this works in JavaScript, the internet is full of material about this topic, like understanding JavaScript discovered in depth by Egghead.io. I think I might have seen this article. Okay, but I still didn't understand like what it said. Okay, so it doesn't have much, so I can only say let's. Is it only like this? It says 18 minutes. The global content function call in constructor call method. Okay, I will do it. Mm, Classes. Let's clear this. Classes. As mentioned previously, there is no class mechanism in JavaScript like the ones in object-oriented programming language. For example, let's say Java. There are, however, features to make simulating object-oriented classes possible. Let's take a quick look at the class syntax that was introduced into JavaScript with the AS6, which substantially simplifies the definition of classes or class-like things in JavaScript. In the following example, we define a class called a person and two-person objects. Class called person and a two-person object. Okay, I have defined it. When it comes to syntax, JavaScript classes and the instances created from them are very reminiscent of how classes and objects work in Java. Their behavior is also quite similar to Java objects at their core, however, they are still plain JavaScript objects built on prototypal inheritance. The type of any such classes instances is still object. The type of any such classes instance is still object because JavaScript fundamentally defines only a limited set of types. Yeah, like boolean, null, undefined number, string, symbol, begin, and object. So far, I have used boolean, null, undefined number, string, and object. I haven't used symbol or begin. So let's go through this class just for the sake of it. So I have a class method here called person. I am defining a constructor function which passes through name and age. Then I am assigning this dot name to name, this dot age to age. Now I am also passing another function called greet in which I am greeting the person's name with accessing the constructor function. Now all I'm doing is defining a variable and assigning the new instance of the instance of the person class person and calling that greet method on them. So let's say const. dev is equal to new person. Here I have done it. Dev kp, let's say 23, and if I do dev dot create, what will it split? Hmm. Okay, so if I change, no, I don't want to change anything right now. Let's read through this through. When it comes to syntax, JavaScript classes, Ramesh said about prototype inheritance. Okay, hence an understanding of it is beneficial even in this course. However, since we are using the new hooks feature of React throughout this course, we have no concrete use of JavaScript class syntax. JavaScript materials. There exist both good and poor guides for JavaScript on the internet. Most of the links on this page relating to JavaScript features referring from Mozilla's JavaScript guide. It is highly recommended to immediately read JavaScript language overview on Mozilla's website. If you wish to get to know JavaScript deeply, there is a great free book series on the internet called You Don't Know JS. Another great resource for learning JavaScript is javascript.info. The free and highly engaging book is Eloquent JavaScript, takes you from the basics to interesting stuff quickly. It is a mixture of theory, projects, and exercise and covers general programming theory as well as the JavaScript language. Yeah. So it is all about like materials and stuff. So finally, we are in the React back with the JavaScript fundamentals clears. Now we have component, state, and event handlers. Let's see new things. But before moving on, we have to drink our water. Hydration check. Cool. Uh, in summer, we should drink a lot of waters. Okay, so let's get back to it. Let's go back to working with React. We start with a new example. Okay, so in my app component, I think I should replicate all of this thing, and I would like to export default app. Now I would like to see what happens. Let's little bit close it. Small it. So I have a hello component which is using a div. Let's see. I do this and accessing name and age from the props. I have a default name and age here defined. I'm calling one component hello with giving the props, and one is like directly accessing the default variables. Maya and Peter. Okay. Component helper function. Let's expand our hello component so that it guesses the year of birth of the person being greeted. Hello, born year. So in my component, I have to use const born year. Basically, I'm in the component. I'm having another component. No, rather than component, I will say it is much more like a function. Const year now is equal to new date. Then we have get full year. Now we have return year now dash this dot age or props, but I'm not using any props. born in. Okay, so I have another p tag coming here. So you were probably born into the born year. I'm calling the function here. Okay, let's see. See, that's great. So basically, what we have done, we have a name and age of any person, and from the age we are guessing the born year of which they are born. For that, we have used the function inside the hello component born year. Uh, yeah, right. This is just a function, as also mentioned in our like curriculum that every component have must have a capital letter. So yeah, this is a function. Const year now is equal to new date get full year. So let me print what it is actually logging year now. So today's year is 2026, and I am okay, understood, understood. Okay, so let's comment this out. Update app component with component helper function. Use component helper function. Let's expand our hello component so that it guesses the year of birth. Okay, done. The logic for guessing the year of birth is encapsulated within a function of its own, which is invoked when the component is rendered. The person's age does not need to be explicitly passed as a parameter to this function because the function can directly access all the props provided to the component. If we examine the current code, we notice that the helper function is defined within another function. Yep, that determines the component's behavior. In Java programming, defining a function within another function can be complex and it is uncommon. However, in JavaScript, defining a function within a function is a common and efficient practice. Absolutely. Now we have destructuring. Before we move forward, we will take a look at a small but useful feature of the JavaScript language that was added in ES6 specification that allows us to destructure values from objects and arrays upon assignment. Yep, I have used it a lot. In our previous code, we had to reference the data passed to our component as props.name and props.age. Of these two expressions, we had to repeat props.age twice in our code. Since props is an object, we can streamline our component by assigning the values of the properties directly into two variables called name and age, which we can then use it in our code. Okay. So this is what it's saying that I have to write two variables. Name const name is equal to props dot name. Const age is equal to props dot age. And in the bond here, I can so in the bond here, what I can do now is that all I have to do is get new date, get full year, and I can just subtract the age and then again, Bonnier is a variable helper function. I see. So here in the props, I just only need to access the variables, props and age. Let's see if anything changes or not. I think it is. So I think so far it's good. Is this what we did in the structure? Note that we have also utilized the more compact syntax for error function when defining the Bonnier function. As mentioned earlier, if an error function consists of a single expression, then the function body does not need to be written inside of curly braces. In this more compact form, the function simply returns the result of the single expression. To recap, the two function definitions shown below are equivalent. Okay, I understood. Though I would prefer the first one because it is as easy to read. Destructuring makes the assignment of variables even easier since we can use it to extract and gather the values of an object's properties into separate variables. Const hello is equal to prop, name and age is equal to. Okay, so let's see. Wait, let me add this. Update app component. Use the structure. Now, what I will do is const bring out name and age from the props, and everything will remain same. When the object that we are destructuring has these values like name and age, the expression const name and age is equal to assign the values of Artohela to name and 35 to age. We can take destructuring a step further. Monier, so like I'm directly destructuring in the function parameters, in the function parameters. Okay, so GST. This is something I have like made habit out of me. If any kind of changes that I do, so I always commit. So I don't lose any kind of changes that I have done, and I can reiterate through them by my visiting commit. So let's commit this. Uh, Manual destructuring in app component reset map. Now, what I will do is rather than writing props, I will destructure it name and age here. So even after that, everything will work fine. The props that are passed to the component are now directly destructured into the variable name and age. Okay. This line here is really important. The props that are passed to the component are now directly destructured into the variables called name and age. This means that instead of assigning the entire props object into a variable called props and then assigning its properties to the variables with the name and age, we just directly destructure it into the function parameters. As look, it is written is here. We assign the value of the properties directly to variables by destructuring the props object that is passed to the component function as a parameter. I see. So this is really an easy way to like access it. Let's comment this. GST DCIM uh, destructuring as function para so main. So now we have page rendering. Up to this point, our application have been static. Their appearances remains unchanged after the initial rendering. But what if we wanted to create a counter that increases in value either over time or when a button is clicked? Let's start with the following. File called app.jsx becomes app.profs counter profs. Okay, so now we are moving on to this new thing, a counter. There is gonna be a new counter. Okay, and the main.jsx becomes like this. So in my main.jsx, react dom app let. Okay, so I'm assigning global counter one and passing in the app component this counter as a counter. I see. So at the end of the day, this app component is also the component. Is that what it's saying? So I will have my counter here as one, this one, if you guys can see. But how can I increase it? There is no logic that I have written. It's not gonna be print one. The mm, component is given the value of the counter via the counter props. Okay, just like how I did in my previous examples. What happens when the value of counter changes, even if we were to add the following? Okay, so let's see if I add not here, then when counter the component wouldn't re-render. We can get the component to re-render by calling the render method a second time, and that is in the following way. Okay, so I didn't get it what it's trying to say, so let me do it again. It's giving me an error. Error, unexpected token. Okay, now mm, this. Then we have a function called refresh. It's gonna refresh my root component app in which we have a counter defined, and every time refresh is called we increase the counter by one. Okay, I think I am seeing where this thing is coming from. So I remove this. Okay, now I write a const refresh function, arrow function, in which I define my root dot render root.render, in which I will define my app component, and I will pass the counter props, and I will call the refresh method here. Then I will increase the counter by one. Then again I will call refresh method. Then again I will do counter by one. Again I will call refresh method. Now it's giving me a root any kind of error. Let's see what it is. Root is not defined. Uh, so this becomes my root. Is that what it's mean? Or it's root? Okay, let's see. So now I have three. So how did it become 3? Let's say the initial counter is 1, so it's gonna be passed in the refresh function. So first time it is called 1, then I increase the counter by 1, so it becomes 2. Again the refresh called, then it will be printed 2. Now again I am increasing the counter with the like not initial but existing current 1. So currently we have 2. Now adding that to 1, we the counter comes to 3, and then I'm calling the refresh function again. So this is how I'm rendering. This becomes render. The re-rendering command has been wrapped inside of the refresh function to cut down on the amount of copy pasted code. Now the component renders three times. First with the value 1, then with the value 2, then 3. However, values 1 and 2 are displayed on not displayed on the screen for such a short amount of time that they can be noticed. I see. So it is displayed, but it's so fast that our eyes cannot make it. No, actually, I am still doubting myself. So we can implement slightly more interesting functionality by re-rendering and incrementing the count every second by using set interval. Okay, so how am I gonna do that? Making repeated calls to the render method is not the recommended way to re-render components. Next, we will choose a better way to accomplish this in effect. Mm, this is something I still don't believe it, and I would like to see it happening. Let's see. Is that here? Yep, I think it's. I use this. Okay, so it is called a repeated function. It is calling repeatedly refresh function in the interval of 1 second. So, how can I say it to stop? Because it's gonna be like infinite, right? If I do something like this, then okay, okay, right. If I do again, 10 seconds. This is fun. I can see my component like this root can render. There is one thing though I forgot to do, that is commit. GST, G G STGCI minus M. Let's see. What should I put as my commit message? Page re-rendering. Page re-rendering. So main. So this is the manual way. I should have put that in my commit. Now I will use set interval. Re-rendering with the use of set interval infinite loop. It's gonna be like a render. Then again, I have my doubts, so let's clear this. So from the page, my app.jsx is like this, main.jsx. Okay, so now is this page rendering gonna work infinitely? Is that it? Or if I want to stop it, how can I do that? Yes, with the code you wrote, the page will keep rendering indefinitely because a set interval runs forever until you explicitly stop it. Every second it calls a refresh, which re-renders app counter and then increment the counter. While it runs infinitely, that interval doesn't stop on its own. It keeps firing the callback every 1 second. That's why your app keep updating the counter without end. How to stop it? You need to capture the interval ID that set interval returns and then call clear interval ID when you want to stop it. For example, okay, so I just like need to add this in my code. Clear interval interval ID. But where am I gonna find the interval ID from? Okay, so this thing itself returns the interval ID. Is that what interval ID? Now it's gonna not run. Yeah. Okay. Let's not gonna run. Yep. Understood. So, GST, G add dot, GST, stopping the infinite loop page rendering with clear interval interval ID. So, man, this is fun. In real you typically wouldn't use interval like this to drive re-render. Instead, you would use state. Okay, so it's coming into the next chapter. I just wanted to try it out. So let's comment this out and also remove this. Yeah. So our re-rendering continue. Now we are on the stateful components. Let's have our water hydration check. Cool. Stateful components. All of our components up till now have been simple in the sense that they have not contained any state that could change during the life cycle of the component. Next, let's add state to our application's app component with the help of React State Hook. We will change the application as follows. Main.jsx goes back to here. Okay, let's start doing that. Remove the function. Uh, our root renderer gonna be get here. Mm, this one. Yep. And I can clear this out. Yep. And app.jsx is changed to the following. Okay, finally, we have use state in our use state. I'm gonna write it out. Const app. This is my app component, global app component. Oh, what is that? Let's zoom out a little bit and have write this thing again. Unexpected token. Okay, that's good. Const app. I forgot what we were using for like crashing the application and giving the blank page. I don't know. I think we it went through over yesterday's stream, but something called React Dev Tools or like error rendering or so it doesn't break the application and give us a blank slate. Mm, Let's really ask the question. So what the thing used in React application if any crash or mis syntax crash happen, so it's give us a blank page. How can I stop it and give a error page component or similar? I want to know what are some techniques to do that. And if an app crashes due to runtime error or syntax issue, the default behavior is blank screen. Yep. Avoid that, React provides mechanism to catch errors and render fallback UI instead of letting the whole app die. Error boundaries. Yeah, error boundaries. That's the name of it. So we have a class called error boundary with execute the app component. This is a class component, I guess. Constructor props, super props. This state has error false. We get derived state from error. Component did catch. Render this, and I will. This way, instead of blank page, use the your custom error component, or we can have a global error handling. So, I would very much to add this error boundary component in our application. So let's add error boundary j bound ry. Okay, okay. I'm not good with the naming, so we have our class component class error boundary extends to react dot component, so in which I am using constructor method props in I'm gonna use super keyword super props. Now assigning this dot state to has error to false. Actually, let me quickly copy paste this. Though I want to type it out, but let's see. And in the main JS, I have to like error boundary. Let's import error boundary. This is one my capital B. So I would like to wrap this thing in error boundary. So that means I shouldn't see any error here, but it's still Mark here, but never used. I should have like did export default error boundary. Mhm. Or should I have like used this in my main JSX? I don't know, since I don't know, I can only do stuff like this. Let's delete this. Hmm. 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 Will it now work? Error boundary has already been declared. Unput syntax error. Now I have a syntax error. Uh, okay, start that. This was just a wishful thinking plan, right? So that uh, the screen get happy, really get happy. Okay, let's see. This was how it was done. Hmm. So I have my use state React here. Then I'm defining some hooks here. Const state use state. What is this state counter? Okay, set counter. I see. So this was how const counter set counter is equal to use state, and the initial value would be 0. Okay, 0. Set time out. uh in which I'm passing the function, then set count, setting set counter to increment every time 1, and passing 1000, like for every 1 second increase the counter. And I'm gonna return deo, return the counter. I will have export default app. I think now it should work. Uncaught type not read properties of undefined reading render. So I think something, see the difference. Uh, let's copy this and have it here. Okay, so there it is. If I reload again, start with the 0. Since this is also using that interval or time, then it's also gonna be like finite. Okay, so what did I just do? So for like in previous step I was using a refresh method and a set interval for re-rendering the page again and again for infinite time, and later I used clear interval to catch the interval ID that was spitted out and stop the process. And in that I realized that if I use clear interval right there, then it will stop the even the first rendering itself. So in my main.jsx I have this render my app. I'm not passing anything or something. And in my app component I have used a React hook called useState. In that I am using restructuring properties like counter and set counter. UseState returns a stateful value and a function to update it. So the initial value is 0, and that is how it start. If I use initial value as let's see -2, I think it start with the it's gonna increment one. So that is how that is used. After I change it didn't like update, or it was so fast that I didn't see. I don't know. So basically this is what I have right now. Uh, this use state hook, then I'm using set timeout, set counter to, so this is the value and this is the function that's gonna be keep updating, and this is the hook that let us update the page re-rendering, and this is the initial value that is we are going to pass to the hook. And for re-rendering again and again we are using the timeout function by incrementing the set counter function to use the counter every increment by one, by every 1 second, like 1000 ms, and we are just simply returning the counter. Okay. Okay, so first react hook I can say finally gst add dot gst same. First react hook use state used. So in this let's go ahead. In this first row, the file imports the useState function. Sure, the function body that defines the component begins with the function call. So this is my function body and its call. The function call adds state to the component and renders it initialized with the value 0. So this function call adds state to the component and initial value is 0. The function returns an array that contains two items. We assign the items to the variables counter and counter by using the destructuring assignments syntax shown earlier. I like to read it again. We assign items to the variables counter and set counter. This one, and using the destructuring assignment syntax shown earlier. Yep, I did that. The counter variable is assigned the initial value of state, which is 0. Just as I thought, this is my value, and this is the function or an operation that I will be like using on. The variable set counter is assigned a function that will be set counter will be assigned a function that will be used to modify the state. The application calls the set timeout function and passes it two parameters, a function to implement the counter state and a timeout of 1 second. Function is the parameter to the set timeout function is invoked 1 second after calling the set timeout function. Okay. When the state modifying function set counter is called, React re-renders the component, which means that the function body of the component function gets re-executed. So it's like this: counter set counter use state 0. Yep, because this that is exactly what I have here. The second time the component function is executed, it calls the use state function and returns a new value of the statement. Executing the function body again also makes a new function called to set timeout, which executes the 1 second timeout and increments the counter state again. Because the value of the counter variable is 1, incrementing the value by 1 is essentially the same as expression setting the value of counter to 2. So now set counter will be 2. So initially it start with a 0, so the 0 will be printed. I'm returning here. Then again this set timeout will be called and the counter will be 0, 0 plus 1, 1, and after 1 second 1 will be printed. Then again set timeout will be called 1 plus 1, 2, and after 1 second 2 will be printed. Then again, so this will gonna be in infinite loop, right? Yep. Meanwhile, the old value of counter 1 is rendered to the screen. Every time the set counter modifies the state, it causes the component to re-render. The value of the state will be implemented again after 1 second, and this will continue to repeat as long as the application is running. If the component doesn't render when you think it should, or if it rendered at the wrong time, you can debug the application by logging the values of the component variables to the console. If we make the following addition to our code, yeah, like console logging the counter, that I can see 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so it's gonna be like in indefinite loop. Was your browser console open? Yep. If it was, it was the last time you need to be reminded again. No, 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 to remind. Well, this is the part where I end my stream. So it was fun learning going through the JavaScript fundamentals to creating my first React hook with using useState. So in the next stream, I can guess like I will continue with the event handler and or we can go through this stateful component. I might in the meantime, I will probably read the component life cycle or any kind of theory that I need to understand like from the official React.dev. So I have a better understanding of it. This is something I realized while I was working in a professional environment that reading something beforehand literally gives you edge over like something because it literally clicks when it's happening in front of you. So you recall it, and that's how you learn something. And I am also thinking of uh, uh, finding a box you can say so I can learn React better. If you guys have any kind of recommendation, please drop in the comment. I will look into it. Thank you and bye bye. I we will meet you in the next stream.